What does pound for pound really mean anyway? Welcome to the 3026 Breakdown. I am your host, Jon Lee. And this week, in the aftermath of the tough 24 finale, I have a question. What does being the best pound for pound fighter in the world really actually mean? Let's start by talking about the origins of the term. Most people think the term came about in the 1940s as a way for sports writers to talk about Sugar Ray Robinson's brilliance during the domination of the Joe Louis era. Other boxing historians will argue quite vociferously that the term traces its way back to the 1920s and Benny Leonard and the Jack Dempsey era. No matter what, there are two general reasons that are accepted that the term pound for pound came about. Number one, bigger fighters always steal the headlines. Whether it's Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Robinson, Jack Dempsey and Benny Leonard, or Mike Tyson and Roberto Duran, there's a reason heavyweights command attention. See Johnson, Demetrious. This leads to people in bars saying one of the dumbest things ever, and I should probably do a whole video on dumb things people say in bars when you're watching MMA, but the guy who's 250 pounds and goes, Demetrious Johnson might be good, but he's only 125 pounds. I'm 250, I could take him, I'm like twice his size. Demetrious Johnson would beat you senseless before you even swung your fat ham hock fist. The second reason for pound is that generally the best little guys are often seen as more skilled than the heavyweights. People tend to assume that heavyweights are bigger and they couldn't beat them up, but that they're also less skilled, slower, and get away more with relying on physical advantages, hitting really hard. Now, the pound for pound debate really gained steam in 1990 when Ring Magazine debuted their original pound for pound list. This gave legitimacy to the arguments that had previously only been held in sports bars and barbershops. Now you could look at Ring Magazine and see who the accepted, made-up, pound-for-pound best fighter in the world was. One could even argue that the original incarnation of the UFC with no weight classes was an attempt to answer the pound-for-pound question once and for all, but it was also an attempt to mix styles, so you could also make an argument that it wasn't. But without weight classes, Royce Gracie came out on top, basically showing that pound for pound does matter when you're fighting guys who have never fought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before. Now, the pound for pound argument in MMA didn't really start to gain steam until the ascension of BJ Penn and his weird vision quest to fight everyone everywhere from lightweight to 190-pound catchweight fight with Lyoto Machida, which, looking back, how did that get sanctioned? I'm pretty sure it was a K1 fight in Japan. But weird, right? Is that the weirdest fight that's ever happened? A bloated BJ Penn versus a skinny Lyoto Machida? Very strange. The pound for pound question again raised its ugly, made-up fake head during the lead-up to both BJ Penn versus GSP fights. But, like most purely fictional narratives, once GSP bested BJ, the goalpost moved and he would now have to fight Anderson Silva to be the best pound for pound fighter in the world. And that's not even taking into account Jon Jones and the fact that the best fighter in the world might also one day be the heavyweight champion. Confused yet? You should be. It's all very, very confusing and made up and kind of nonsensical. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because the pound for pound narrative is lazy and irresponsible, and most importantly, it's not real. It's a sales device. It's something for Dana White to come on and scream at us that Renan Barão is the best pound for pound fighter now until he's not, or that Anderson Silva is the best until he's not. It's really just made up. It's fictional. It's like speaking Klingon or Wookiee. But people get really upset about this stuff. Getting upset if I think Jon Jones is the pound for pound best instead of Demetrious Johnson is like getting mad at me for rooting for the Lannisters on Game of Thrones. It's not real and it doesn't matter, and every time we bring it up, we're falling into Dana White and other promoters' games, and y'all, the MMA media, keep doing it. Furthermore, while initially the pound for pound idea was intended to give more attention to the harder working and underappreciated lighter weight class fighters, it actually does the opposite. All last week, we had to endure the entire media telling us that Demetrious Johnson was the pound-for-pound king as a way of trying to make us care about him, as kind of this last-ditch effort to get the people who don't care about Demetrious Johnson, who were wrong, to start caring about him by saying something imaginary. As you can imagine, it didn't work. And it won't work next week when Dominic Cruz or Amanda Nunes or whoever is the new pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, because the UFC needs them to be to sell pay-per-views, is the new pound-for-pound best fighter. The idea of trying to make someone care about something by telling them that they have to care about it is silly, and it takes away from the legitimately awesome things that fighters like Demetrious Johnson do in and outside of the cage. Shameless plug, I made a whole video on 7 reasons to appreciate Demetrious Johnson last week, and I didn't mention pound for pound once. So, instead of talking about the land of fairies and pound-for-pound best fighters, let's focus on the actual things that make someone like Demetrious Johnson exciting, instead of subtly throwing shade about how interesting he is, and how we have to try to convince people to watch him, because that's what you are doing. That's what you, the MMA media, are doing. Every time you say, Demetrious Johnson is the best pound-for-pound fighter, but no one cares about him, all the people are hearing is that no one cares about him, and that tells them that they shouldn't care about him either. Stop saying it. Stop talking about pound-for-pound. Stop talking about fake reality. If you want to do that, go cover esports. Last week on the Tough Finale, over 1 million people tuned in to watch Demetrious Johnson, so clearly a decent amount of people care about Demetrious Johnson, or at least are starting to now that he's fought on Fox and FS1 all these times. So people might actually start to care about him. Not only are you wrong, not only is the pound-for-pound thing stupid and imaginary, people actually are starting to care about Demetrious Johnson without you having to bang on the fact that he's the evolutionary, lineal, best fighter in the Genghis Khan all-over weight class. So in conclusion, stop using the pound-for-pound thing because it's fake. Stop talking about how people don't care about Demetrious Johnson, because not only is it wrong, it's subtly dissing Demetrious Johnson, and we don't have to compare all of these things in order to appreciate fights. That's just my 2 cents. Be sure to give me a follow on Facebook /Jon Lee MMA. That's JONLEE MMA. And also check me out on Twitter @John's Crazy Life. JONSCRAZYLIFE. Talk to you soon.